Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leela and I love to read queer, trans, and feminist literature, and I am very excited for today's vlog because tomorrow my girlfriend Alessandra and I are going on a day trip to Sleepy Hollow in upstate New York. We went last year and loved it. We had like a wonderful experience visiting the cemetery and walking along the river and seeing all of the beautiful leaves starting to change. So I am really excited, and here is my TBR for the trip. So first of all, I will say that I have read the classic legend of Sleepy Hollow, and I find it to be horrifically colonial as well as racist and also sexist. So the first book on my TBR is the audiobook of Red Paint by Sasha taqว์šəblu lapointe. I love Sasha taqว์šəblu lapointe. She is Coast Salish and grew up kind of riot girl, punk, anarchist, and kind of brings themes of like indigenous identity and liberation together with this like aesthetic vocabulary that I adore. As I've shared multiple times on my channel, I love her book of poetry, Rose Quartz, and her essays in the collection Thundersong. So I'm really excited to listen to her first book, Red Paint. And then also on my TBR for tomorrow, thanks to a personal recommendation from the fall queen of booktube, Katie is reading herself, I have the graphic novel Hollow as well as its sequel, The Woman in White. These are based on the classic legend, but I think like generations later with queer characters, so that'll be interesting. And then also on my TBR, this is very exciting. I was honestly stressing of like, what book am I gonna read in Sleepy Hollow? Like, I want to read in the cemetery. What like novel can I read? And then I was on the Brooklyn Public Library app, as I am all the time, and they featured a list of autism representation in YA literature. And the first title on that list was a book called Hollow, which literally just came out, and it's a queer trans horror novel set in upstate New York. So I was like, literally perfect. That is the exact book that I have been searching for and manifesting. And then I was like, how am I gonna get it? Should I get it from the library? Should I pick it up from a bookstore? Like, what should I do? And then it came to me, the perfect solution. So the first stop on our itinerary when we get to Sleepy Hollow tomorrow is to go to the Sleepy Hollow bookshop, which is a children's and YA bookstore. So here I am, I'm like, okay, I want to read this YA novel called Hollow that just came out in Sleepy Hollow. Where should I get it? And I was like, oh my god, obviously at the Sleepy Hollow bookshop, children's and YA bookstore. That is so perfect. So I like placed an order on the Sleepy Hollow bookshop website. I was like, I want to pick up Hollow. They answered me and they were like, we will have it. I'm so excited. And then the author is coming to the Twisted Spine bookshop in Brooklyn later this month. So I'm thinking I can read it and then have them sign it there. So I'm really excited about that. So that is the TBR, and I will see you tomorrow morning. are in Sleepy Hollow right now. I am sitting outside of the Sleepy Hollow bookshop. I am so happy to be here. I got my copy of Hollow. I'm so happy and excited to read it, and she had like received my order and had it waiting for me behind the desk. My name. The owner of this bookshop, Leah Bloom, is so sweet and clearly works so hard on her small business, and I really love her for that. A teenage girl came in and asked if there was a lesbian book section, and she was so cute. She ended up getting Last Night at the Telegraph Club. I'd never heard of that book before, and she told me and Alessandra that she loved both of our outfits, which was so sweet, and we told her that we loved her outfit too because we literally had been admiring it. I think she was so cute. We got lunch at Grassroots Kitchen. It was so delicious. I had their vegan smash burger, which was like made with meats and pickled red onion, which was so yummy. And Alessandra got the tofu scramble of kale and potatoes, which was also so yummy, and I had some. And we shared a berry smoothie. The train ride up was great. I did make progress in Hollow. I'm finding it very cute. It's giving me kind of like Buffy vibes, which I really enjoy. There's actually lesbians in here, which is really sweet. And the protagonist is Hispanic, which I think is sweet because this is like actually a predominantly like Hispanic town. I will say though, like the story centers around like a white girl being persecuted by like evil outsider, and I'm kind of rolling my eyes at that, but I am enjoying the story and the lesbians. I did also start the audiobook of Red Paint last night, and I am loving it so much. I love Sasha taqว์šəblu, lapointe. I love her voice. I love the nature of the Pacific Northwest that you can like feel in her writing. And she talks about like before writing nonfiction, she was interested in like selkies and mermaids and magical realism and poetry, and that like really shows in her nonfiction, which I love. And she's talking about her love of Twin Peaks, which I also adore. But anyway, yes, Allie just brought me my coffee. So next stop is the cemetery. Yay! Oh, and I also got a chocolate chip cookie. Beautiful witch of the woods. Pretty, pretty princess. Okay, so Leila wanted me to tell you my reading updates. So I brought You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. Ever since I read Hell Followed With Us, I read his other two books as well, and now this is his adult debut, and I'm loving it so far. I actually thought it was going to be too scary to bring to Sleepy Hollow because it's more like genuinely terrifying rather than like cozy horror vibes, but I kind of got addicted to it, so I brought it anyway. And it turns out it actually does match because the main character's name is Crane, as in Ichabod Crane, so it does suit the aesthetic, and I love it as per usual. Andrew Joseph White is so great at creating like his characters are all technically similar on paper, like demographically they're all like autistic trans boys, but they all are so distinct and the stories are so different from one another, but also like maintain a similar je ne sais quoi about them. So I just like really love
reading his stories because I know I'm going to be surprised. Like, I'm certainly not bored. It's not the same thing over and over, but there is also a consistency that I can expect. It is very comforting as well, and I just love his like politics and his storytelling. He's really good at weaving a tale. And I also brought Carmilla because it's gorgeous, and I want to reread it before Halloween because Leela and I are going as Carmilla and Laura, so I need to freshen up on my Carmilla.
Hello vlog. So we went to the cemetery and it was so nice, and we walked along the river. We spent some time sitting down on a rock with a stunning view and just reading our books. I started Hollow and finding it very cute so far, and then we stopped by the Warner Library, which was beautiful and so lovely. We actually also just went to Transom Books, which is the bookstore in Tarrytown, which carries books for adults as well as children in YA, and it was stunning. The curation was so excellent. I loved it in there so much, and the vibes were immaculate, and the bookseller, Chris, was so cute and fabulous and wonderful, and he had great book recommendations. And actually, I just noticed that this is blurred by a professor from my school. He recommended this book to us. It was in his favorite weird little books shelf, little curated section, and it's a haunting spare novel about a crow. So I'm in, and I think there might be something queer, but I'm really excited about this. Oh my god, wait, I didn't even realize that my whole Sleepy Hollow Tarrytown book haul is crows. YA crow and adult crow. I'm obsessed with that. I love crows. I love Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown. Last Halloween, me and Alessandra were crows for Halloween. So it's all connected. Because once we were sitting on a bench and a girl that we love said, I didn't even see you there, I thought you were just two crows. Anyway, we are currently waiting for our dinner reservation at Sweetgrass Grill. We had dinner here last year and I'm so excited, and we're just having such a cute day. Okay, hello. So it is a couple of days later and we are home from Sleepy Hollow. It was such a lovely little day trip, and then yesterday I just chilled and read all day, which was so nice. And I have read all of part 1 of Hollow. There's how my tabs are looking. I'm finding this very cute and cozy and comforting, so I'm loving it. And I am halfway through Red Paint, which I am loving so much. I just adore Sasha taqว์šəblu lapointe. point. I'm loving the way that she is writing about trauma and divorce, as well as, of course, her beautiful aesthetic and references to Sylvia Plath, Rebel Girl, Leonard Cohen, and also she mentioned crows and ghosts, which very much matches all my other reading on this list, so I love that. I did finish the Hollow graphic novels, and I found these so cute. I loved the queer and trans representation. I thought it was so sweet that Woman in White is dedicated to trans kids. It says, "To trans and queer kids everywhere, you are seen and believed and held and loved." I just thought that was so sweet, and this was published in 2025. I did find them to be liberal though, like as opposed to radical, because then they feature diverse representation, but they don't go all the way to like land back, which actually kind of really aligns with my sense of the vibe of Sleepy Hollow, the town. Like, it is a liberal town. We also definitely saw some like conservative stuff, but like Ali and I were talking about, we feel like in Salem the vibe is like we are witches, whereas in Sleepy Hollow the overall tone felt more like this is America and we are celebrating Halloween, which actually follows the classic legend of Sleepy Hollow, kind of like the text that informs this culture, because in that short story Ichabod Crane is kind of ridiculed for his literal belief in witchcraft as described by Cotton Mather, and he's kind of made a fool of for believing in ghosts, which like also follows the like historical progression from belief in and persecution of witches to the dominance of rationality and reason, and the transition from women being persecuted as witches to dismissed as hysterical. But yeah, like what I mean is, like, for example, in Woman in White, which is the sequel, the like American Revolution is referenced in the opening image as a sort of like unquestioned part of the fabric of the world, and then during the events of the story President's Day occurs, and again that's not like questioned or put into like colonial context, it's just like it's President's Day. So I was grateful to have red paint to listen to. I thought it was really cute in this one that the boys have a TikTok series with a very small following. They have like 74 followers. I was like, oh my god, it's just like my YouTube channel. And I love the crows. Again, like I was saying, all these books have crows in them. I also thought that the titular Woman in White really slayed. Like, isn't she such a mood and an icon? I love her like black tears makeup. But I was also reflecting on like, it's like a white woman who's gone missing, who's sad, but she's obviously also angry, and I loved her anger. But then also like the resolution of her story is that like she finds peace when she hears an apology from the man who abandoned her and caused her to feel so sad and angry. And while I was happy for her to find peace, and I did find it like somewhat cathartic like to read that, I did wish that she could have found peace from like within herself or from a community of like friends who loved her, as opposed to that resolution, which was kind of false, because like the man who hurt her like did actually abandon her, and then she heard like a fake apology from someone else, but that gave her peace. And it's like, I feel like that's more true. Like in reality, like men do abandon women and they do not apologize, and that's something we have to deal with. But anyway, I really liked these books. Honestly, I was like shedding a tear towards the end of this one. Like I found it actually really touching and very sweet. And then finally I did make this little reading journal spread. I got that Sleepy Hollow sticker from the Sleepy Hollow bookshop and printed those covers of the books on my like Sleepy Hollow reading list at the library. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to know what you are currently reading and what is on your fall TBR, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.